Hello again from my front porch. I positioned the camera so that you can see the banner, but you see it's not quite squared off because I had somebody tell me, I find it interesting that I watch some of your shows and sometimes you've got the sign nice and squarely lined up, and then other times it's just a little bit off, and I'm watching it and I'm like, I just want to grab it and turn it, and so I intentionally have it like this so that person will be watching and go, oh, it's that way again. It's because I'm ornery that way. But actually, yesterday I had a really great time celebrating the Honoring Our Veterans event with the Filipino American Society of Iowa. We recognized over 80 veterans, and that was a great time. And a lot of food was had. And they even let me sing a couple songs. So that was fun as well. Among those who were acknowledged was my Uncle Jim. And of course, when I submitted his name, he was still with us. By the time the event came around, he had joined the table of those who had passed away, and so he still received his recognition, and so that I was proud to be able to include him in on that. But then last night and today, I've been reading. Sometimes I gotta not look at Facebook. I gotta not read stuff because it makes me sad. I'm trying to scramble and get final details of work stuff done because I fly to DC today to be there for this coming week to present training material that I've revamped now based on the previous week in Florida. But so that's been my main focus. But I am checking, take a little mental break, look at some stuff online, and there are just some things that I consider absolutely unbelievable. People. That's all I can say. The things that just blow my mind that people actually do this kind of thing. I've got a friend who is a friend in California who's personal friends with this business owner in Denver who's being sued. The city of Denver is coming after him because the business owner is not wanting to clean up. And I'm not exaggerating, does not want to clean up human feces and used needles from the sidewalk in front of his establishment, in front of his business. He doesn't understand why that's his responsibility to take care of those things. And I would agree. Now, of course, the city of Denver, they're using the same thing like, if you have a sidewalk in front of your house, even though technically it's in the parking, which is not yours, the city and utilities and whoever can come and just dig stuff up willy-nilly, but you pay property taxes on it, you have to mow it, and you have to shovel the snow off of the sidewalk in those areas, but it's not really yours completely, it's that right-of-way thing. So the city of Denver is saying the same thing here. Well, you have a responsibility to make sure that it's not a health hazard because it's the sidewalk in front of your business. Well, that's true, I suppose, but it also could be that maybe the policies of the city of Denver are encouraging the kind of activity that causes a human being to literally shoot up or drop their pants and do number two right out in public on the street. See, that to me, that seems like the bigger issue than whether this guy wants to be responsible for the cleanup of it. I would think that instead of sending the authorities to this guy to say, hey, you need to be cleaning this stuff up, they ought to be sending the authorities to round up the individuals doing that. Not necessarily to punish them. I'm not saying that. But go find them and take them somewhere that they can get the help they obviously are screaming out that they need. But instead, no. We want to make them comfortable sitting there on the street and doing literally all their business right there in public on the street. That just, again, absolutely unbelievable. I don't understand the priorities going on there. Then I see up in St. Paul, Minnesota, there's a guy that was, again, it's a white police officer shot a black man. And so immediately, boom, powder keg goes off. Well, it's racist because, again, those racist cops targeting the black community, and blah, the Black Lives Matter folks get involved, and a whole bunch of other community activist organizations, and they're demanding that the officer be fired, and they want all these new restrictions put in place, and all these new policies. They want restitution payments, all this kind of, and of course you got the people that know the victim rushing out and saying, well, no, he's not aggressive at all. He was a good man. You'd say, yes, ma'am, yes, sir, and all this kind of stuff. I'm not kidding you. That's in the article. I read people, that's their defense of him. All of that's being spouted. The mayor, the police chief, they all keep defending the police officer. But, of course, then the community activist organizations are all like, well, you're just getting it up on your... Well, now the body cam, the cop's video footage from his body cam have been released. And in 60 seconds, the video is only 1 minute long. In 60 seconds, I watched the video, and it's kind of difficult to watch. It's a little first-person scary kind of scenario. But it starts, you see the officer is sitting in his patrol car, and he's rear-ended. You see the car moving because he's been rear-ended. And later, I'll just throw this in, but later when he's out of the car and you see the car that's rear-ended, I mean, it's smashed up good. It wasn't just a little love tap. It was a full-on boom smashed into him. So cop is sitting in his car, and all of a sudden, it's jostled because he gets run into. So cop's like, what in the world was that? And he goes to open the door. He's not even completely out of his car, and this guy from the car behind him is running at him with a knife. No joke, full on, coming at him with a knife. The officer's like, whoa! And he's swearing, he's issuing some profanities as he's freaked out by this, but he tries to push the guy off. He pulls his revolver, and he does point it, but he doesn't shoot right away. He's like, drop the knife, drop that. The guy keeps coming at him, he's pushing away, and he's, drop the knife, and the guy won't drop the knife. Finally, the officer shoots twice and then runs behind his patrol car, running for cover. Now, he did hit the guy. The guy falls down. The guy is later pronounced dead on the scene. But, point being, the officer didn't provoke anything. The officer, I think, actually was either a really, really good shot or a lucky shot, because when you're watching the body cam footage, there's all this going on, and he's just like, stop, boom, he goes like, and he rushes behind. And as soon as he's behind the car, he's on the radio and he's saying, shots fired, the assailant is down, I need emergency medical service. He's trying to get the guy help right away too. So all of that's caught on video. And yet, even with that, that original group that was all, those individuals, they're now saying, oh, that's only 1 minute of the footage. We don't know what happened before or after that. And others are saying, it could have been doctored. That could be an elaborate doctor where they manipulated the audio and the video to just make it look like those things. Really? Really? It's absolutely unbelievable. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't issues of racism that may come up, because there are some individuals who pin on a badge that don't deserve to wear the badge. There are individuals who are bullies and they want the badge to be able to just do whatever they want. Those individuals need to be chopped down and they need to be drummed out of service. But they're the minority group among law enforcement. Most of those serving in law enforcement do it because they care about their community and they want to make it a safer place for your family and mine. And they deserve our respect, they deserve our honor, they deserve our trust. And this guy, I watched the body cam footage. This guy, he did nothing wrong. This cop, he did nothing wrong. In fact, he did everything exactly as I would expect. I don't know that I would keep my head clear like he did in that instance. But of course, I haven't trained to become a police officer either. But so my kudos to this officer. I can't believe. Now, I can understand people jumping to the conclusion. I wish they wouldn't, but I can understand them jumping to judgment when the story first broke. But now that this footage is out there, for them to continue to hold to that story to the point that they're even saying, well, it's doctored footage. They want to see, is there video from somewhere else on the street that can corroborate these events? I mean, really? Really? You're so attached to that narrative that even when facts are laid right in front of you, you willfully choose to ignore it because you want to believe your narrative. Absolutely unbelievable. But as long as I'm on the topic of absolutely unbelievable, I want to mention a guy, Jesus Manuel Valenzuela. Now, I interviewed him a few months ago, back when the Democrats were all in town with their big steak fry thing here, and I interviewed him at that event. Unfortunately, and I'm still trying to edit it because unfortunately, I interviewed him while the candidates were speaking, and some of those candidates are just loudmouth babbling on and on. And we made the mistake of having them behind us, and so some of them get really loud, and as they're spouting their empty promises, they're talking over really important things that he was saying while I was talking. So I'm still tweaking that, I'm having to chop it in a few places, but still have it make sense what happens all in it, because here's his topic. He is campaigning against the deportation of American military veterans. You heard me right. American military veterans being deported after being honorably discharged from the service. Now, here's what happens. You have an individual who is not a citizen of this country. They sign up and join the service, the Army, Navy, Air Force, I don't know, Marines, whatever, but they're in the military. Now, you can say, well, they shouldn't be allowed to do that. Okay, fine. Then make that the rule. Don't let it happen anymore. But right now, they actually can. They can sign up. But even though they will serve for however long and be honorably discharged when they come out, they're still not a citizen unless they've applied and gone through that process. There is nothing the military does to grant them citizenship. See, in my opinion, you sign up to serve in our military, that ought to be a fast track to citizenship. I mean, I can't think of a better way to demonstrate your loyalty to our nation. So why wouldn't we give you citizenship then? But these individuals then come out, and if they weren't a citizen going in, they're not a citizen coming out. We have a lot of veterans who, for one reason or another, will later in life commit a crime. Now, if you are a naturalized citizen and you're a veteran and you commit a crime, you go to jail, you serve your time, you get out of jail, you go on with your life. These other people who are not actually citizens but were allowed to serve in the military, served fully, discharged honorably, if they turn around and commit a crime after they have been discharged from the military, now because they're not a citizen, they can get deported. So you have an individual who served in our military, who literally put their life on the line for you and me, getting deported because they're not a citizen. That just blows my mind to it. It is absolutely unbelievable. Because, again, you can say, well, they shouldn't be allowed in the military in the first place. Okay, fine. But if that's the rule, then let's make the rule and enforce it. Personally, I don't have a problem with an illegal alien signing up for military service. But I think that when they do, part of their military service ought to be when they're done or at some point in there, thank you for your service. Here's our thank you to you and your citizenship. You are now an American citizen and a veteran. To me, that just makes sense. I don't get why that's not the way it is. But all this other stuff I'm sharing with you today doesn't make any sense to me either. It's like sometimes I just think our world is going crazy, and sometimes I think it is. But that's why you and we need to stay vigilant on these things, and we need to be saying, no, I don't like this. I don't like that a business owner is being held responsible for what I would consider the failed policies of a city that isn't doing enough to take care of problems that would lead someone to being out on the street and defecating and doing drugs right out in the open. That needs to be addressed. Not through punishment and crackdown, but through some method other than normalizing that and holding the business owner accountable to clean up the mess. This idea that cops are automatically accused of guilt, especially if there are two races involved, is absurd. Absolutely absurd. Are there some instances of it? Yes. But does that mean all of them are racist? Absolutely not. And yet we keep doing that. And more people need to speak up and say, that doesn't need to be the way that it is. Stop, settle down. Because when we attack and criticize situations like this one in St. Paul, Minnesota, that clearly are not racially driven, at least from the cops' vantage point. I can't speak for the assailant. I don't know. But from the cops' vantage point, he was defending himself. He's the victim in this thing. But we need to establish this. It says, you know what? We are going to stop jumping to that conclusion, because when we do, we delegitimize and we minimize the times when it really is what happened. When it really is racially motivated, we need to be able to target those and treat them seriously. But when we call everything racially motivated, it's like Chicken Little and the sky is falling, or the boy who cried wolf. After a while, it gets tuned out, and people just automatically push back against it, even if it's true. And so then the opposite takes place. Got to stop that. And this whole thing about deporting veterans, come on. I can't believe that's even a phrase. I can't believe that's a sentence that is factual. The notion of an honorably discharged veteran being kicked out of our country is just absolutely absurd. So anyway, that's it. That's my ranting for the day. Whew, got that off my chest. I feel so much better. Yeah, so a lot of absolutely unbelievable stuff. All right, well, I need to get back to getting my bag packed and getting my work stuff done and getting ready to head out tonight. But I hope you've enjoyed my coming unglued here a little bit, venting. But really, these are things that are a problem. And honestly, if any of these things bug you, then I'd pick up the phone and I'd be calling officials. I'd be calling, seriously, I would call the folks at the city of Denver, and I would tell them that you think that this situation in Denver is absurd. I would call the police department up in St. Paul, Minnesota, and tell them your support. Well, I mean, or if you want to say it's a conspiracy, I guess call it. But hopefully you will understand. No, this is legitimate, and that you are supportive of the officer and of what's being done. And I would encourage you to call your member of Congress and your senators and say, okay, we need to figure out a way to bring an end to having someone enter our armed forces who is not a citizen and exiting our armed forces still not being a citizen. That just makes no sense whatsoever. Let's bring that practice to an end. And so, it's a helicopter. It's like, wow, that's really loud. It's an airplane, but I rarely get to see them. But this one I can actually see. It's flying right there. I thought about turning the camera, but I've discovered that with this camera, if I turn it to look at something in the sky, for you, it's very small and you can't see it. But you just have to take my word for it. There's a helicopter. Flew very, very, very close by. But anyway, sorry. I just talk about being distracted. Squirrel! Flying squirrel. Oh, Rocky Bullwinkle. Oh, no. Back to task, Paul. Okay, so I better wrap this up before I keep babbling. Thank you all for listening. Seriously, if you are supportive of one of those things, find a way to vocalize that support. And with that, I'll let you go, and I'll see you all next time from my front porch.